Today, I'm going to be breaking down Asake's new track, Basquiat, where, as usual, I'm going to be talking you through the various elements that I'm picking up on as we go through it. In terms of the overall themes of the track, the song seems to be an assertive declaration of self-confidence and resilience, a reflection on material success and the human experience, as well as a nod to Asake's spiritual and cultural roots, with the title, as far as I can tell, appearing to be a reference to the late artist Jean-Michel Basquiat. Now, before we do actually go ahead and get into the video, if you're interested in my setup, i.e. headphones, mic, camera, I put links to those in the description. Also, if you're on TikTok and you want to go ahead, give us a follow, show us some love, then by all means, feel free. Let's get it.
Ololaje mi Asake.
Tune into the king of songs and blues.
23, 24, she be I tell them before me, then stop to defend the fall. She like, yeah, when gong, if they turn, be the rubber, my ball. Tell me what to do, I can't do, me I no skid that do. Tell me what to do, I no fian to. Jam bad with my bad move, boy I got to can't do. Them small shut up and do.
Okay, right. Before we get into the meat of the track, there's been a lot that's happened within the short space of 31 seconds. So let's go ahead and unpack what we've heard so far so that we can then get into the rest of it. Okay, so no prisoners being held here. They literally throw everything at us as we hit the intro. So we got the beat in there. We got these synths in there, playing this rhythm. We've got some pianos in there. We get some strings in there as well. And then what happens is we shift out the intro and we go into something that's called a refrain. Now, for anybody that doesn't know what a refrain is, in a nutshell, it is just a set of repeated lines, and it's typically the most memorable or the most catchiest part of the song. And there's a couple of things that happen as we get into this refrain. So firstly, we get Asake's vocals, they come in, but if you're paying attention, those sounds and those instruments, other than the beat, actually, they don't get carried through to the refrain. They get cut out. But what we do get is we get this additional, what sounds like a vocal layer, and almost like choir vocals. And they're just like, right, as they're running through the track. Now, another thing to pay attention to is that there's a part within the refrain here where it's like, da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na. And as that's happening, what we get is this higher range vocal that comes in over the top. Now, that could easily be a female vocal, but it could just as easily be Asake's vocals, only pitched up slightly. But either way, that comes in and that does a good job of, one, adding an additional layer in there, but also bringing character to those vocals. As we move on through the refrain, we then begin to hear Asake's vocals start to get stacked and layered in places. We also get a transition, and this is where the bass comes in. But if you're paying attention, right, as we get towards the end of that refrain, we actually get a glimpse of a cheeky little saxophone. Now, look, as you've heard and, you know, through all the things that I've kind of picked out and broken down, right, there's a lot going on here. So when I take it back, I'm not going to be picking out every single instrument. I'm just going to pick out key things, and then I'm going to let you guys just kind of, you know, listen to the rest. All right, so let's go back. Right, synths there.
Ololaje
Strings,
mi Asake.
pianos,
Tune into the king of songs and blues.
23,
choir
24,
vocals.
she be I tell them before me, then stop to defend the fall.
There's that higher range. Layers.
Tell me what to do, I can't do.
Bass in there now.
Tell me what to do, I no fian to.
Sax. Transition.
Walking poetry, I am greater. Walk over to Basquiat.
Thanks, mate.
Walking poetry, I am greater. Walk over to Basquiat.
Okay, right, so listen, as we are in a cutscene of the video, let's just talk about what we've heard within the chorus, right? So, we've gone from the refrain, we've gone into the chorus, and they've shifted us from that with this kind of cymbal transition. And if you listen really hard, you can hear that that cymbal kind of carries on over into the chorus just ever so slightly. We get into the chorus, boom, we get that signature synth come in, which, you know, for me, I am beginning to strongly associate with Asake because, you know, he's used it in multiple other songs. We also get the saxophone come in. We get some strings that come in towards the end. But what we also hear, and pay attention to this, right, is the snares. So when that synth comes in, those snares, they become much more crisper, much more prominent. Like they've got a snap to them that the snares in the refrain just didn't have. And then the final thing to kind of listen out for here is, again, in the refrain, if you remember, I said that there's parts where Asake's vocals, they begin to become kind of stacked and layered. Well, they're being stacked and layered just continuously throughout the chorus. And you want this, right? Because that's what kind of brings that chorus. It makes it big, it makes it impactful and kind of pads that out and powerful, right? So let's go back and just listen to that. Right, here's the transition. Boom, synth. Listen to those snares. Saxes. Vocals. There's those strings, man.
I'm on one, what did you ginger? I'm guilty, that's my swag, the queue. I don't go up you, no, it's hard to swallow the pew. Then I gym that I hit me, though I kill. Shout out to my space, my mama, she be my queen. Oh, go.
Okay, right, so let's pay attention to what's going on here. So firstly, we're in the verse, right? And for those of you that don't know, this is actually the only verse that's within the song. So, you know, even from a kind of structure perspective, like on a kind of quote unquote typical song, it's not following this kind of normal structure, which would also kind of give an indication as to why the instrumental keeps shifting and changing. But look, either way, we get into the verse and we shifted from the chorus into the verse with that same cymbal transition as what we had before. But when we get into the verse, the first thing that kind of stands out to me is Asake's flow. Absolutely love his flow, man. And just, it's not even on this track, it's other tracks as well. He's just got this way of delivering flows, bro. And it just absolutely bangs. Another thing that happens here is that you'll notice that the synth that I was talking about before, that's actually still in the track, very much so. But what they've done is they've actually dumbed that down. And that's a smart move because in a verse, right, you actually want the lyrics to be at the forefront. You don't want those lyrics being drowned out by big kind of prominent sounds. Now, another thing to pay attention to here is that we actually get an additional layer of vocals that come in. So we get Asake's lead vocals, and then we get another set that kind of says something else. And I can't remember what it is. I think it's like Emily or something like that. Either way, they come in and they absolutely bang. And the final thing to pay attention to here is we get this vocal sound that's in here, right? And I'm calling it a vocal sound because, you know, not really saying anything. It's just right? And that just comes in every now and again. Right, let's take it back. Right, listen to the dumbed down synth. There's those vocals. Right, vocal sound. There. Listen to that flow, bro. Transition. Bangs, mate.
Never lose God, can't catch the way we did do right. Study me, I know, I get many pages like something.
Yeah, okay, right. So let's talk about what's happening in the second segment of the verse now, right? So we, again, we get shifted from the first segment of the verse into the second segment with that same cymbal transition. But pay attention to what happens when that second segment hits, right? So firstly, the synth is taken out altogether. We literally just have the beat. but that gets replaced with some pianos that come in. Another thing to pay attention to is that as we get further on within the second segment, we then start to get this warm bass that comes in, right? But it's not a synth, it's just a normal bass, but it's really, really warm and kind of brings something additional to the track. And another thing to pay attention to is we get this like another vocal sound, but it's different to the first vocal sound. It's like it's in, and it sounds like it's actually in a key. And then as we come to the end of the verse, this is where, you know, the beat gets cut and we're at this part that we're at now. And then we begin to hear these strings come in, right? So let's go back.
I'm guilty.
Transition coming up. You can hear it. No synth. Pianos. Bass in there now. This is that sound. There. Keys, saxes, layers, wire vocals in now. Synth back in. String outro.
I'm guilty. That's my swag, the Q. I don't go up you. No, it's hard to swallow the pew.
Yeah, absolutely bangs, mate. Okay, that's it for me. If you want to see more reaction and analyses videos, there'll be things popping up on the screen right now. Other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I will see you in the next one.